What's up, everybody? It is April 13th, I believe. Today's topic is one that it's one of those, you know, if I had a dime for every time somebody asked this or had confusion about it, I'd have a lot of dimes. But anyway, it's all good. I would encapsulate, there's a phrase that I use, and I hope other people find it helpful. Every now and then once a week, we do a not for time workout, and I think people are rather familiar with those. But then, even in my head, there is a difference between timing my workouts and doing a workout for time. Okay, so we'll get into what that is. And I do some workouts over the course of the week for time, but I time all of my workouts. Whether or not I'm doing them for time is a different story. So, okay, stick with me, stick with me. Here we go. A little walk down memory lane, right? All the CrossFit nerds will love it. So, CrossFit, as we all know, right? Constantly varied functional movements at high intensity. And the goal of CrossFit is to develop and improve your fitness. And your fitness, as CrossFit defines it, is work capacity across broad time and modal domains. If you're unfamiliar with any of this, go check out the What is Fitness CrossFit Journal articles. Great stuff. But the goal of CrossFit is to increase your work capacity across broad time and modal domains, to increase your fitness. And intensity, as we've said many times before, is a critical factor in driving results, in getting what you want out of it. And that lengthy sentence that you hear in the CrossFit seminars or in the journal, that intensity is the independent variable most commonly associated with maximizing the rate of return on favorable adaptation. Absolutely a mouthful, right? Just meaning it's the independent variable, it's a thing you can manipulate, see if the outcome changed. Increasing the rate of return just means how fast is it occurring. And then favorable adaptation is the good stuff. It's what you want out of your fitness program. Fitter, faster, stronger. You want to look better, improve your health markers, and all of that stuff. And the oversimplification is that you will achieve your goals quicker, in a more efficient manner, by pursuing them with intensity when compared to not pursuing them with intensity. Okay, so that's a little bit of the backstory. And there's also the other part of intensity, right, that we always say that intensity it's relative to the individual. It's based upon the individual's physical and psychological tolerances. So what that means is no two people, no group of 10 people, no 100 people, each one of them will have a different threshold of how much intensity they can expose themselves to on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, or on a monthly basis before it's just not sustainable for them. So you have to learn what CrossFit is, and you have to learn how to use that for yourself, because when you dip your toe in the water of intensity, you're going to be able to hold your toe in that water for a different period of time compared to the person next to you. And so learning a bit about yourself is absolutely mission critical to not only you driving your results forward, but doing it in a way that is sustainable. And we're really big into that as well. And so, let's see. If we're talking about power and intensity, we've got a couple ways, again, simple ways to think about more intensity, more power, right? If intensity and power leads to the good stuff, we want to get fitter, faster, and stronger. What are some examples? What does that actually look like in the real world? So more you can do more work faster, excuse me, the same amount of work faster. An example of that would be Fran, right? Fran's 21:15:9 thrusters and pull-ups. The work is the same. Whether you do it in 10 minutes, 7 minutes, 5 minutes, or 3 minutes, it's still 21:15:9 thrusters and pull-ups. So the work hasn't changed, but you are doing the work faster, and therefore you're generating more power, more intensity. If you do a 5K run, a 5K, it's a measured distance, it's a 5K. If your time keeps decreasing, well, you're doing that amount of work faster. You're increasing your power, increasing your intensity. Or the other way that you can do it is doing more work in a set period of time. So an example of this would be Cindy. So Cindy is a 20-minute AMRAP of pull-ups, push-ups, and air squats. It's always 20 minutes. Whether you get in 10 rounds of Cindy in 20 minutes or 20 rounds of Cindy or 25, it's still 20 minutes. So the more work that you do in that set period of time, the more power, the more intensity that you're generating. And this should pass, if trying to improve or increase your power intensity leads to the good stuff, this should pass an initial kind of common sense sniff test, right? I mean, because let's think about what would the opposite look like. The opposite would look like decreasing power and decreasing intensity. Does that seem like something we think would lead to becoming fitter, faster, and stronger? So if every time you did Fran, your goal was to do it 20 seconds slower, and I checked back in with you in 5 years, there's a really good chance that your fitness has backslided and not increased if you've applied that general principle to everything. So that doesn't make any sense. If every time you go to the track to do 400-meter repeats, your goal is to do each repeat 10 seconds slower, I check back in with you in a few years. If that's your philosophy, things most likely aren't improving. Every time you squat, dead, press, your goal is to lift less weight. Again, so it kind of passes the common sense test. However, there's a little bit more to it than that, right? Because to be fair, let's look at the opposite. The opposite would be, okay, well, that was me decreasing power or intensity at every session. What does increasing power or intensity at every session look like? Well, every single time I go to the track, I'm going to go to the track every Wednesday. Wednesday's track day, and every Wednesday when I do my 400-meter repeat, I'm going to shave 5 seconds off that time, faster every week. Obviously, that's not sustainable. I squat every Thursday, and you know what? Every single Thursday for the rest of my life, I'm going to squat more. No, you're not. That's, again, not sustainable, or I look forward to reading about you in the Guinness Book of World Records. So while it is hopefully quite obvious as to why you don't want to pursue less power and less intensity on a regular basis on your workouts, hopefully it's equally obvious as to why you can't increase your power every single solitary time that you work out as well. So a wonderful balance, the elusive balance, which is kind of the point of this conversation, is that critical tightrope to walk. Again, intensity being, relative to the individual's physical and psychological tolerances. You finding your sweet spot is what's going to allow you to just hum in CrossFit and to have not weeks or months, but years or decades of sustained, consistent, wonderful, injury-free performance. And I'm not just, if decades sounds like a long time, I'm en route to that right now. I'm in year number 16. So I'm here to tell you this stuff works if you figure out how to massage it for your tolerance level for intensity and some other factors. It's one of the most critical things that you can do for sustainability and happiness in this wonderful thing that we call CrossFit. So one of the most common and pervasive misconceptions about CrossFit is that since CrossFit is constantly varied functional movements at high intensity, that's what it says. It says it's at high intensity. One of the most common misconceptions is that, well, it's high intensity every day, every week, every month, every year, every workout. High intensity all the time or nothing. Wrong. Incorrect. Okay, that is not sustainable. That is not healthy. That's not the point. And if you hear somebody saying that, you're talking to somebody that has a fundamental misunderstanding of the methodology. Such as variance of movements is important to develop your fitness. Variance of reps, loadings, time domain, etc., etc. So is variance of your intensity. Equally important, okay? But I don't think it gets the respect that it deserves or the conversations that it deserves. So variance of intensity, it can happen naturally through your friend and mine, mathematics. And what I mean by that is, from an intensity standpoint, a very long workout in general will be at a lower average intensity, average power output compared to a shorter time domain workout. So if we took 10 thrusters at 95 pounds for men, 65 for women, and 10 pull-ups. 10 thrusters, 10 pull-ups. And we did that for a 2-minute AMRAP, okay? And then we did that same thing, 10 thrusters and 10 pull-ups, but instead of doing it for a 2-minute AMRAP, we did it for a 30-minute AMRAP. Yep, you would do a lot more work in the 30 minutes, that's for darn sure. But you would have to slow down so much, and the time domain would be so long that most athletes would have a higher power output, a higher intensity in the 2-minute workout compared to the 30-minute workout. So just by programming a longer workout, you are, in some, from a mathematical standpoint, you are programming a less intense workout. But here's the problem. That's not enough to keep things sustainable based upon what I just said a second before, because whether it's the 2-minute AMRAP or the 30-minute AMRAP, the individual athlete, as far as their effort level is concerned, could pour themselves with 100% effort into the 2-minute AMRAP, and they could pour themselves with 100% effort into the 30-minute AMRAP. And yes, in the 30-minute AMRAP, from a mathematical standpoint, they will have produced less power or less intensity. But their effort level on both was maximal. They gave all that they could. So that's why it's not only up to the programming, but the individual athlete as well to modulate their intensity, to understand these concepts that we're talking about, so that you approach things in an intelligent and sustainable manner that not only drives your fitness forward, but also, as I said, keeps you happy, keeps you healthy, avoids burnout. And again, after 16 years, I'm here to tell you, it's completely and utterly possible. And it's not as difficult, I think, as some folks want to make it out to believe. It's once you get it, you can get it, and then you'll benefit from it for a long time. So your individual effort level, your intensity, has to be modulated as well. And I do this every single solitary week that I train. And we try to talk about this regularly just to get the information out there. So for an example, let's look at last week's workouts on Linchpin. I've got my handy spreadsheet called up here. We have 2 dedicated rest days, Thursday and Sunday. That also helps keep things sustainable and lets us modulate our intensity and rest adequately to avoid burnout. So Thursday and Sunday are rest days. That leaves 5 training days. When I looked at last week's training, that's April 5th through the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. So April 5th through 10th, that's Monday through Saturday, because like I said, Sunday's a rest day. 5 days of training, and I looked at this 1 week laid out, and obviously if you're part of the private track, you've got the Beyond the Whiteboard app, you can look at the entire week's training and do exactly what I'm talking about right now, and I do this every week, where I decide what workouts am I going to stomp the gas on, and which ones am I going to hold back on, and that is just modulating intensity. How am I going to modulate intensity for this particular week's training? And when I looked at last week's training, Monday there was a named workout, a triplet, Christine, nasty workout, 3 rounds for time, 500-meter row, 12 bodyweight deadlifts, 21 box jumps. Coming off of a rest day on Sunday, right? So this is Monday's workout. I said that's going to be one of the days that I'm going to try to depress the gas pedal. I'm going to try to bring some nice high intensity to that workout. Now if I sleep crappy the day before, I'll modify that, but this is my plan going into the week. Monday, going to be high intensity. And then I like to personally, 2 out of the 5 workouts, I'm going to try to go relatively hard on. Just 2 out of 5, that's only 40%. So that's very sustainable, by the way. And it also drives results forward, avoids burnout and injury, and life's wonderful. So on Monday, I decided to do that. And then looking at the week, Wednesday was the other workout that I decided to get after it. And that was another nasty triplet of burpees over the bar, a heavy front squat, and some chest to bar pull-ups. That was on April 7th. Dirty, dirty workout. So Monday and Wednesday, those are my ones I was going to get after it. Tuesday was kind of a heavy day at a high heart rate, a lot of overhead work, also given as a not-for-time option. And I absolutely intended to take Tuesday as a not-for-time option and just make my way through it, not worrying about intensity, just getting in some pressing capability. Thursday was a rest day. Fantastic. Friday was a long workout. 75 wall balls, 1 mile run, 50 meters of a walking lunge, and then another 1 mile run. So in that workout, we had 2 miles of running, 75 wall balls, and 50 meters of a walking lunge. That was Friday's workout. My intention on Friday was just to make my way through it. I would describe what I did on the runs as casually jogging. And when I did the wall ball shots, I never tried to be a hero and hold on for big sets and just roast my posterior chain. I broke them up regularly, not a care in the world, did my jogs, got in a stretch, went home. It was just a moderate to low intensity day. It was wonderful, and it's exactly what I needed. And then Saturday was some power snatching lifting days. Great day. So over the course of 5 days of training, 2 of those days were high intensity for me, and 2, I didn't worry about what the clock said in any way, shape, or form. They were moderate to low intensity. One day we had a dedicated lifting day, and then we had 2 rest days as well. And while Tuesday it said 2 rounds for time or not, so it kind of gave that not for time option if you so desired. Getting back to what I said was the initial, the name of this podcast, if I was going to say this, was timing workouts versus doing workouts for time. And here's what I mean by that. So Friday's workout was a great example of that. That was the one that had 2 miles of running, all the wall balls and all the walking lunges in it. That was written as for time. It's just a chipper for time. On a day like that, since I chose that wasn't going to be one of my high intensity days, I ran the clock. So I timed that workout, but I didn't do it for time. So in my mind, when I do something for time, I'm pushing myself. I'm doing some high intensity training. Well, that's what I did on Monday and Wednesday. The other days of the week, I might have run the clock. I might have timed my workouts so that I just made that note beyond the whiteboard as to, hey, did the 2 mile runs with the wall balls and the 50-meter lunge, did it casually, was always at a conversational pace, broke up the wall balls frequently, was never really out of breath. Here was my time. And so that, it was a timed workout and I have the data point, but it wasn't for time. And I do something like that every single week. And now, like I said, over a decade and a half into CrossFit, it works, and it works really well. And I do think it's one of the pieces that many people miss the boat on, that they think they just have to set themselves on fire every day of the week, every workout, and then they get burnt out doing CrossFit, and they blame CrossFit, and it's not CrossFit's fault. I think it's just a fundamental misunderstanding of accurately and appropriately applying the methodology to you as an individual to meet your individual needs. And I think if you are depressing the gas pedal every day on every workout, that it is not sustainable and that you will crash and burn. And so we want to have people avoiding that crashing and burning and having fun for weeks, months, and years, because it works really, really well and you can do it. So that's it. I would highly recommend at the beginning of each week, you look at the week's training and then you make those decisions based upon kind of what I just said right there. And also, don't be so wed to the plan that you make that you're utterly rigid and not flexible, because life has no regard for your plan, right? So maybe, like I said, I planned on hitting the gas on Monday and Wednesday. Let's say something happened with the kids on Tuesday night, and it was just a terrible, horrible night, and they were sick, and we were up all night long, and sleep was absolutely out the window, and I woke up Wednesday morning just feeling like a bus hit me. And it's one of the days that I decided was going to be a high-intensity day. I wouldn't have made it a high-intensity day. I just would have called an audible, changed the plan, modified the loading if I felt like that's what had to happen, and moved at whatever pace was appropriate for that day. And then that might have shifted me to making that longer workout with the 2 miles of running, the wall balls, and the walking lunges. Maybe that would have become the other day of the week that I depressed the gas. So again, it's a bit of a moving target because life, you just never know when life is going to just throw a monkey wrench into your best laid plans. And that is why understanding the why we do things, okay, not just rigidly following whatever the workout is this day, I have to do exactly that. Well, life doesn't care about that, right? So understand why we do things, understand the intent of the workout, understand your capabilities and your tolerances, and then make the appropriate decisions based upon what comes your way, and you'll be good to go. So that's it. Have a wonderful day. Hopefully that helps everybody. Again, the difference between timing workouts and doing workouts for time.